So yeah, recognizing how the brain works, I think is incredibly important because again, we are not our brains, but it is the most powerful tool that we have at our disposal. It is the number one technology that we have on this planet is the brain. So
Yeah.
we need to learn how to use it.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, Be It Babe. We have one of your favorite guests back. You all loved Dr. Philippe Douyon when we had him on before, and I decided we had to bring on his other half of his podcast, The Brain Prophet, which is Douglas Mapp. And these two are brain nerds for sure, 100%. And what I really loved is how they explained well, we all need to be doing so much with our brains. And typically we wait until something is in need to work on it. And really our brains are something that we need to work on now. And how does this affect you until you see it? Well, you need your brain to take you wherever you're going to go. So you are going to absolutely want to listen up to what Douglas and Dr. Philippe Douyon have to say about this, because y'all, I think we tend to put ourselves last. And when you do that, you're not only putting yourself last, but you're putting your brain last, probably last. And we go into how to actually put your brain more first. And also like what we all can be doing more in this world to be more like our brain and to take it to the next level is really interesting. We get to talk about a lot of things. It's a great conversation. I'm excited for you to have it. And I also really loved, there be action items for sure. And also like you can just do them. You don't have to go buy anything. You can actually just go do them, which is really nice. And if you haven't noticed on the podcast, outtakes, especially on the recaps, are happening because guess what? I'm perfectly imperfect. No, I'm kidding. I take a lot of messy action. I make a lot of mistakes, and some of those things get taken out of the actual feed, but then the team puts it at the end of the credits. You know how when you're at the movies and like something fun happens at the end of the credits and only the people who like stayed after got to see them? Well, that's what we're doing with this podcast. So enjoy hearing how many times I can't say a word, can't say my own name, can't say Brad's name, or forget how this podcast goes. All right. Without further ado, here are the brain profits. All right, Be It Babes. I'm so excited because we have a 2-person show happening here today. Well, it's 3 because I'm the third, but we have 2 people as guests and it's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, they're just like experts in their area. You already know one and loved him so much. Dr. Philippe Douyon is here. He is, as you know, like the brain doctor and also part of the Brain Profits podcast, and his other half is Douglas Mapp, and he's here to talk about what they're doing together, what they do in the world of just all helping us like think in a different way. So you guys, thank you for both being here. Can you each, I'll have Douglas, since this is your first time, you get to go first and introduce yourself, okay, and then we'll do the doctor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Douglas Mapp, founder of Think Up. I'm a cognitive development professional, and I'm one of the halves of the Brain Profits podcast. You can find me, of course, on Twitter, primarily at DMAP2. And you can also, go check out Think Up at thinkupexcellence.com.
Awesome. That's, good for you to be on Twitter. It's a brave place to be.
I don't really say, so yeah.
Maybe in the brain world, it's really great. We'll have to talk more about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Philippe Douyon, for those who are new to you, can you remind us who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a board certified neurologist. I'm author of the book Neuroplasticity, Your Brain's Superpower. I've got a children's illustrated series called Nuri the Neuron, where we teach kids about their brains and how they can take care of their brains. And I'm also the creator of the online course, Take Charge of Your Brain.
Very super cool. I love Nuri the Neuron, I think. That's so cool. I don't think that when I was growing up, there was any books about the brain. So kids are definitely getting more educated than I was when they're younger. Okay. So you all said some amazing words. I think what's really important is like to kind of go back to the basics. We're all in the same place. Douglas, when you say like cognitive, everything you said, can you kind of tell people like what a day in that looks like, or what it is that you're like, what are you trying to get people to do with that?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is improve the way that people think. So you know how you go to the gym, and then this is kind of appropriate for this podcast. So you go how you guys do Pilates in order to, uh, improve the strength of your body, your physical self, right? So the cognitive development process is a process we put people through to improve the mental capacity or just the mental your thinking so that you can perform and produce at a higher level.
So you're basically saying that like we have the power and the ability to kind of improve how we think, change how we think. It's not stuck just like how
Right.
you were when you're younger. It has ever learning abilities.
Yeah, yeah. So, if once you understand the right type of activities to do, we can improve like, how fast your processing speed processes, right? How long your memory, how much your memory can hold, how
like a
much
computer, but for my brain. You can make my brain be faster.
Well, yeah, yeah, your brain is already faster than a computer, but yes, essentially, your think about like your control of it. Like, so imagine somebody who picks up a computer 30 years ago probably won't recognize how to really use this full capabilities. So we're part of that process of utilizing your full capability or more of your capability, right? And so, this is about, to me, no knock on anybody else. It's about next level stuff. Like when productivity, how do we take it to the next level? And and it comes by understanding, not just understanding what your brain could do, but then putting it through the paces so that it can do it, right? It's one thing to know, what the form's supposed to look like. It's another thing to be able to do the form. So
that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that thank you for using that analogy. And it's like, so I guess the next question for you is like, how do we know we need to improve our brain's capability? Like, is it something that like I come to you for because I'm feeling stuck in my job? Like, is it like, or you can do it in your work, in your capacity of thinking outside the box at home or at the gym? Like, what is it that brings me to think like, I want to do this next thing?
That's a great question. Like, how would you know? So this is me and Philippe's fight, because it's our brain. And because we don't really see our brain, and because we generally judge each other by each other, we don't really know. So I call it weird. I call it that right now we're facing a problem in America, and maybe even around the world in general, just by our society, and at least first world countries. And it's called mental obesity. But because you can't see it, you don't know how, or how, I guess, subpar or where your lack in performance is at. Right. So I would think that what we need to be doing is, just like people should just generally exercise, we should be generally putting these practices into play, the things that we do. So
Yeah.
so I'm going to use some metrics just to put it in retrospect. So let's go 20 years ago, or well, almost 20 years ago. So in 2005, right? So in 2004, as a population that works on averages, we were productive. Our production rate improved at a rate of 2.2% year over year. Right now, right, since 2005 to now, we improve at a rate of 1.4%, or at least from a productivity standpoint. So we're less productive than we used to be.
Because we're overwhelmed with thoughts, or we're overwhelmed.
I would say not that it's not so much the overwhelm, but it's the lack of ability to run the same race as fast.
Interesting.
Right. So we don't have to train the same way. So like between 1948 and 1970, the world that we have now never existed.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, as we have now. So, but right now we have the internet. We have so many things that doesn't allow you, or doesn't necessarily rely on you to have to think or create it. You can ask a question of some device. It tells you the answer. You don't have to even think. Right. You can hire somebody to do something for you that you could have tried to build something yourself just to even get that, that brain associated with what that should take. That's gone. Right. So there's a lot of things like visual processing that would be used in trying to put something creative together. So now as a people, we don't exercise our brains the same way, so that you don't actually even know what you could have been doing.
That's interesting. That's
fascinating.
It's
not. So overwhelm, of course, happens because now you're trying to lift something that you're not strong enough to lift.
Yeah. But we used to be able to, and we have that capability. It's almost like, it's like when you get older, some things just aren't as easy anymore. You could do the exact same thing, but we're we're still young. Our
Right,
brain should still be
we're
able
still
to do
young.
this. Yeah.
You should be able to do it.
So how did the two of you guys connect and start working together? Because you guys have this podcast and as you said, you're like trying to get people to understand a problem that they don't know that they have, because I feel like that'd be pretty meta. The brain needs to tell you that it's not its capacity. I don't feel like that. It feels a little bit like a bot.
Philippe, if you don't mind, I'd love to, let me tell this part of the story. Then you pick up where I throw you in there. So Philippe wrote this awesome book. It's called Neuroplasticity, Your Brain Superpower. And of course, in my field, once I saw it, I had to read it. And so Philippe, tell the people about your book, man.
Yeah, so it's really about how, our brains adapt, how they learn, how they heal, but most importantly, that we have the ability to control how our brain evolves. Right?
Yeah.
And so a lot about what we talk about is really about giving people their power back. Because one of the things that I always say is, like, you are not your brain. The fact that you are aware of your thoughts, the fact that you know you've got a brain inside your skull means that you are a much higher level than your actual brain. And so now it's about doing the things to keep your brain healthy, one, but to keep your brain evolving so that way you can overcome obstacles, you can overcome the challenges that you face, you can create the life that you want for yourself. Right. And so when we ask the question, well, like, how do people know that they may need, cognitive training or brain training? Well, we can always ask them, well, how's your life going? How happy are you? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you accomplishing your goals? Are you living the life that you've always dreamed of? And a lot of people, that answer is going to be no.
Yeah. So I'm like, my brain just went to like 3 different things and a little bit more and a little selfish, like mostly because of our listeners are mostly women. Does the women's hormones and the changes in that affect the brain's capacity to learn? And therefore, do we have, like, is there something I should be doing now before the hormones change and fuck it all up? Like what?
Well, here's the amazing thing, right? That all of our brains change depending on the phases in life that we're in. And we see this especially happen with women. Like, their brains change in some incredibly just beautiful, beautiful ways, right? And pregnancy is a great time where you're seeing a lot of changes in the brain. And the reason being that when a woman is going from not being pregnant to preparing for this baby to come, her focus has to shift, right? Her focus is no longer on her. The most important thing now is to make sure that this baby survives and does well. And so the brain changes in ways to make sure that that happens. So you hear a lot of women talk about that they've got pregnancy brain. Pregnancy brain is a real thing, right? But it is not at all a bad thing. It's actually a really great thing, right? You don't need, it's not all that important for you to remember, somebody's phone number. I mean, most of us don't remember phone numbers nowadays anyway.
I don't know Brad's. I don't know my husband's phone number. I have to ask him all the time, like, what's your phone number?
Right. Well, probably not the best example, because that's actually one of the things that we have lost in the last 20 or 30 years, our ability to remember phone numbers, because we don't do it anymore. But yeah, you don't need to remember something that may not be important to the survival of your child. Right. And so women attribute that to pregnancy brain. Some women think that it's not a good thing, but it's actually a really, really great thing. So yeah, so hormones play a significant role on how our brains evolve.
That's really fascinating. I mean, I love that you bring that up. I think every person listening here is like, oh, what a great way to reframe that. And also, can we like shout it louder for all the people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're becoming content. So go ahead, Douglas.
No, I was going to say to run it back just a little bit on this, finishing up the story when you asked how
I'm
did
so
me
sorry.
and him meet.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I got distracted. I got excited. Go ahead. Finish the story.
Right.
Yes, we got to go back.
Yeah. So after I read that great book that he told everybody about, which, go get the books on Amazon. I reached out to him over LinkedIn. And then, we just kind of like chopped it up over that and we became, close. And so now we're, cool peoples. And so I guess we're friends, but although we still have to meet in person, he's been busy, I've been busy, and we haven't met in person yet. But
wait, how long have you guys known each other and you haven't met in person?
Oh man, is it going on 3 years now? This is the 3rd year.
I mean, part of that is like COVID, lockdown.
Yeah. And he's got like, he's had surgery.
And then he's like in Tennessee. Like nobody really wants to go to that part of the world, right?
Oh, now
sorry to my Nashville people. I love it.
And we're in Knoxville, and I tell him this all the time. one of the world's most leading laboratories is like 15 minutes up the road.
Wow, that's amazing.
So,
well, there you go.
so
I mean, I feel you're putting on thick, but maybe we can find Vegas. Come to Vegas. It's
Vegas.
Everyone loves it here. So, okay. So going back to like, you talked about like we can take our brain to like training camp, basically. We have neuroplasticity, meaning we can like, our brain is like, we have the ability to change it. Is this like so my dad doesn't listen to this show, so I can talk about him, but he will do this whole thing. He's like, I had an old man day moment. And like, he tells me he couldn't find his keys and it was around his neck the whole time, like that kind of like, and I'm like, well, Dad, I think like regular people, like any age, like that happens all the time. We're just distracted. But like, is there an age at which like that plus it's harder to take the brain to the gym? Or is it like, as long as we were doing it, we can keep doing it? Like, what are the expectations? Obviously without like, any extenuating like conditions.
Yeah, so there's definitely like critical periods in the brain's development where it's easier for that to happen, but we retain that ability throughout our entire lives as long as we're doing certain things that are really healthy for the brain and promoting neuroplasticity, like exercising, like getting a good night's sleep. Actually, that's when you're seeing a lot of these neuroplastic changes happening when people are in the deeper stages of sleep, and a lot of people are sleep deprived. And when we say exercise, it doesn't even necessarily mean going to a gym and using some weights. It could be dancing. It could be, Pilates, which you got me to do, by the way.
Did you do it?
I did.
I got another guest to do it.
Yeah, you got me to do it, which was awesome.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
It's really great. You just can never find an appointment.
Oh yeah. Well, after we'll get offline and I'll find out where you are and I'll help you find that. But I love that you bring that up because I think sometimes people think that like, oh, the gym is exercise and then yoga is stretching. And then we don't really know where Pilates is. We'll put it in somewhere in the stretchy camp. And really it's like any kind of movement that is intentional that like you're not on your, I mean, I guess you could be on the bike on the phone, but like, intentional movement where you're actually trying to like move the body in a different way and strengthen some things. But to give Pilates a nice little hit, I have been trying to do this exercise I've been able to do for years. So the strength part of it, no problem, but there's a rhythm to it. It has this, so for everyone listening, Pilates is not slow. Pilates every exercise has its own rhythm. And this one exercise, it's a fast overhead, like a fast plow. So legs parallel to the floor and up. That up has to be really fast. And then you take your time. So there's this moment where you have to get your whole body over and up. And like, because of that inertia to get it over and up fast, when you get up, you have to stop and you have to catch it. And like, that's really hard to do because it takes control. For years, I've been trying to get my brain to understand the fast part to catch the slow part. And I finally did it. And I was like, but like, it is a strength thing. It's a coordination thing. It's getting your brain to like focus on it. So hopefully I like took my brain to the gym as well in that moment.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about that story? You said 4 years I've been trying to get my brain to understand the fast part. So you, in that statement, recognize that you are not your brain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fascinating. So Douglas, when you are taking people to gym and taking their brain to gym, what does that look like for, let's say, I just like want to be able to take in more information and not, feel overwhelmed?
No, we can do one right now. We can give you a working memory exercise and you can just follow along with the people. So all I want you to do is tell me the sum of the last two numbers that you tell me.
Okay. So if I just tell you, you're going to give me the numbers.
I'm going to give you the numbers and you're going to tell me the sum of the last two numbers that I tell you. Of course, this is a conversation, so you're going to speak and then I'm going to speak, but I still want the sum of the last two. Okay. All right. 1, 2.
3.
1.
4. Wait, no. Oh, I see. I'm misunderstanding. So the last two numbers. So you said 1, 2, then 2, 3.
2.
4. No, 3.
So this is where we push your brain to like focus on what I'm saying, not what you're saying. And most people's brains want to go like, oh, what did I say? What did I say? What did I say? So we always focus on what we're saying.
I'm definitely feeling like I'm a most people right now. Not feeling
And so that's just a simple working memory exercise that also focuses on not necessarily processing speed, but auditory processing. And you could use some visual processing in as the same time as you're doing that particular thing. But it's about putting yourself through the right type of rigorous exercises that are right underneath frustration to promote positive neuroplastic processes. And so, and that's what we, that's just one little one that we do. We have
that one is that one. I'm gonna say I need to go back to school for that. That was.
No, and see, I just kept repeating the same numbers over and over.
I know,
and it was like,
I know.
What is he saying? now, the crazy part is if I did it and said something you said, then you start to question, are we saying the same things?
Right. Yeah, right. No, I also, the brain is very funny because I think because I know I have a brain and then I get I'm one of those people. I'm not a hypochondriac, but sometimes when I switched a word, I wasn't reading the word. I was remembering the word from Instagram and I was dyslexic with it. And I was saying it and I was saying that's not it. But in my brain, I could picture, it was like Chapel Allerton. I was saying Challer Appleton. And I was like, am I dyslexic? Am I speaking? So then it's like, okay, am I getting too old? What do I need more sleep? Is there something wrong? So how do we know something's wrong or if we're just being like a crazy hypochondriac?
Yeah, that's a great question. How do you know something's wrong? So it's harder with our brains to recognize because we're always kind of doing too many routine things to really notice. So when something starts to slip off, that's when we notice. And sometimes that could be too late. But I would like to say one of the things that we are about, me and Philippe, is about being proactive. Right. And if we stay proactive, then we don't have to worry about the slip. Like you don't want to worry about the problem. It's too late at that time. You're way behind the 8 ball, and it's more costly to fix a problem than it is to kind of stay healthy. And so I'm in that camp of of trying to stay ahead of the game because our brains, we only have one brain, and as resilient as it is, it's too nuanced to say, let me let this particular part of it slide.
Yeah.
So that's what I say about that. But I do want to say sleep, people talk about getting sleep a lot because it's just it just seems, when the general person, I think, hears, hey, you need to get more sleep, it's I think hits dead ears to some degree because it's like, oh, why do I need more sleep? But there's a process your brain actually has to go through. And Philippe, talk about the brainwashing process, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I want to hear it because I've been trying to get my Oura Ring average sleep to be up. And whenever I actually read the stats, I get depressed because I'm like, well, my REM is not getting any longer. My deep sleep is not. I'm like, what do I want these numbers to be? Because they all don't seem high enough.
Yeah. So, here's the great thing. We always recommend that people get 6 to 8 hours of sleep per night. And there's a reason. So the brain goes through this cycle, right, of non-REM sleep, REM sleep. And it's really in the deeper stages of sleep that we see a lot of the healing that happens. Right? But it takes about 90 minutes or so, 60 to 90 minutes to get into those deeper stages of sleep. Mm-hmm. And you need to go through that cycle at least 4 to 6 times in the middle of the night. Right? And so that's why we tell people 6 to 8 hours of sleep per night. When you get into the deeper stages of sleep, so our brains are bathed in fluid. Our brains and spinal cord are bathed in fluid. We call it cerebrospinal fluid or CSF. And what we've realized is that when we're in the deeper stages of sleep, there are waves of this fluid happening. And it's thought that the reason that we're seeing these waves is that the brain is essentially clearing out the toxins that build up throughout the day. And when those toxins accumulate over a long period of time, that's when people develop things like dementia. Right. And so there are links between dementia and sleep deprivation, especially Alzheimer's dementia and sleep deprivation. The other thing that we know is that in the deeper stages of sleep, your brain and your body release brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is the chemical that triggers neuroplasticity. It's the chemical that promotes neuroplasticity. So
think about that as fertilizer for your brain. If you think about growing plants and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So sleep is made really for your brain.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think people are they're if they would actually say it's for their brain, they might actually think of it in a different way, or use it in a different way. I think they sometimes I feel like the people around me when they talk about sleep, it's like, oh, I have to go to sleep because got a work day tomorrow. And it's like, well, actually it's so your brain can like run your body through whatever you want to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that you can do whatever. So when it comes to like, I mean, I'm sure there's so many tools, and I don't know if this is like up your two alleys, but like, what are some things that can help people like be it till they see it when it comes to being a better sleeper? Are there things like that they could be considering during the day? Obviously, like screen time before bed is a terrible thing, but like, what are some other things that people could do to just really prepare themselves for their brain going, to fertilizer school?
Yeah, so having good sleep hygiene is really important. And what I mean by that is that you do need to prepare your body and brain for sleep. And so you probably shouldn't eat 3 to 4 hours. Your last meal should be 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, right? You should turn down the lights as the evening uh, approaches, because that signals to your body to start releasing melatonin, which is the chemical that tells your brain that it's time to go to sleep. You should avoid caffeine 8 hours prior to when you're going to go to bed. Right? I tell people all the time, the bedroom, only two things take place in the bedroom: sleep and sex. Everything else, get all the electronics out of the bedroom: TVs, laptops, phone, all of that. So there are things that you can do every single day to help to prepare yourself to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I think I definitely I was so good about my phone not coming into the room. And then my husband went away for a month, and we have this is talented. We have an electronic sliding glass door. And it's because to let the dogs out, there's only one way out, and we'd have to go all the way around. We're in the back of the house. It's go all the way to the front of the house to go back through the middle to the back of the house to let them out. And so we got this electronic door. However, it only lets them out. It doesn't let them in. So we have to let them in with the phone app. And when he's here, he can do it. But he went away, which was supposed only for 2 weeks, and it was a month. And so then my phone made it back in the room, and I have not gotten myself back in the habit. So by the time this episode comes out and Brad and I do the recap, I will let you guys know if I've been able to recreate that habit. But it made a massive difference for my sleep, because I had sometimes, I spent many years where I had stomach issues that then caused me not to sleep much. And then my stomach issues became this vicious cycle. So I'm really I'm always very aware if I've got deep sleep or not. Cause I'm like, what did I eat? What's going on? Cause I don't ever want to go back to where I don't get my sleep, which then therefore doesn't put me through a digestive cycle. And then I go back to not sleeping again. It's my own priority thing, but I find that people don't realize the two can be very connected. And then they don't see it, that sleep is so amazing. So I love those. You guys are going to have to tell us how you use them. So you guys decided to start a podcast together because you wanted to hang out more, because you realized you were trying to do the exact same thing? Or, I mean, I can see the main problem you guys have is that people need to do what you're talking about before they need to do it. So you're trying to get people to do something they don't know that they prevent a problem, which is always hard to get people to do. So how did that whole thing come about?
Yeah, so I think, we do use our podcast for two reasons. That's, of course, to elevate the conversation, right? And then also to kind of learn from people if it's as important to them as we think it should be, right? And so most often it's not as important. That's number one. But at the same time, they don't recognize the factors necessarily that lets us know, or that would let them know, hey, there's an issue. And so but we want to keep it fun. So it's still a fun podcast. We talk about some of the challenges that arise and what could happen if people did kind of put their brain through these paces that kind of help them do better, right? And so we've had the mix of people from the sexuals, or not say sexual, but sex psychologists, right, to help people with their relationships, all the way to business owners. We even had a one of the physicists from the Oak Ridge National Laboratories who came on to talk about, how the thinking of people in that world could be affected by, the work that they do, and how, their performance matters in that range, or in that realm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I like it. So you're trying to see what people actually are thinking about, if they're thinking about it at all when it comes to what you guys are doing, and also how other people are doing it.
Yeah. Because like I said before, if you look at the numbers, most of the things that we work on, at least on my side that we work on, has to deal with what we were studying in children up until 1984. So, and at that time in 1984, that's when people were like, hey, I wonder if all this brain stuff is going to matter to adults. And lo and behold, they found that it did. And so now from there, you move us, 10, 15 years later, this neuroscience field is one of the latest fields in the country when it comes to like how we can help ourselves do more with this super powerful machine. Right.
Isn't
it's
it
probably
so fascinating that it's now a fast growing field? Like, I feel like we should have been making that happen sooner.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know. I don't know. So from a historic standpoint, I don't know if there was enough of us curious enough to see the dynamic moves in how we can kind of put things together and move. Right. Most of the people that are movers or shakers or that are creating are not in that field, right? And it's hard to study them. So I don't know. What do you think, Philippe?
Well, I come from a healthcare world where everything is incredibly slow and archaic. Right?
So you're used to it. So you're used to it.
No, but actually, what I will say is business people move conversations forward. And business people have a really amazing take on the brain, whether they realize it or not, as opposed to people in healthcare, as opposed to doctors, nurses, pharmaceutical companies. The agenda is different, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at entrepreneurs, it's all about growth. I got to grow my business. Well, in order to grow my business, I need to grow. I need to evolve. I need to develop myself. Well, that's all a brain thing.
Yeah.
Your evolution is about your brain, whether they put into those terms or not. I was recently at a conference with a bunch of entrepreneurs. Got to hear like Tom Brady speak, some really powerful speakers. And it's really in their conversations about who they had to be, who they had to become. It really was about how they had to change their thinking, how they had to change the actions that they were taking in order for them to create the lives that they wanted for themselves. And as a neurologist, I'm like, oh, it's all a brain issue.
Yeah. I love that you brought it that way, because it made me think, like, when I started doing what I was doing, I was by myself. So I was doing everything by myself. I was I was like trying to learn this over here and trying to figure out how to like update a link on a website by myself, like all these things. And then I grew the team, but that required me to think in a different way. I had to stop thinking like I'm the only one doing it. I had to start thinking like there's other people here, and then relying on that. And that's a whole other way of thinking, because now you're leading a team to do the thing that you wanted to do while still learning how to do what you want to do. And then years later, the team expands. There's now even more things. And so I think as you brought that up, it made me think 1000% we have to change the way we're thinking, but also how much we underestimate that. We think there's something wrong with us, that we aren't able to quickly switch into this new role. Like, and it's like, well, actually, no, your brain hasn't been doing it like that. You have to probably train your brain to reconsider, like, you know what I mean? We're not born with like all the skill sets that are there that we have to learn them, just like a new language or something when we were a child. Right.
Yeah. And if you think about the way that we learn in school, right, it's very much about being an individual, right? There's no teamwork in school. We call that cheating. But in real life, it's all about teamwork, right?
Yeah.
In
Or
real
if
life,
you are doing a group project, one person's doing it and everyone is.
that's right. That's right. And so it's really about, essentially we've been trained for years on how to do things by ourselves, which,
it's counterproductive to how the brain works. You're right.
yeah, it's not a successful way of going about it. Even when we think about how the brain works, the reason why the brain is so powerful is because it's got billions of neurons that make trillions of connections together. Every brain disease is because of a breakdown in communication between those neurons. Every brain disease. A stroke, you get the blood flow is blocked to a particular part of the brain, neurons start to die, they can't communicate with each other, right? MS, you can't send signals as quickly as you should. And so the communication is impaired. Whatever it is, it's a breakdown in communication. So teamwork is incredibly important.
That is interesting.
Yep.
So I guess like training, so you're saying like the brain as being teamwork, but also like teamwork with others. Like what are some ways to or where can we all find, is it your book? Like, where can we find out how to like get our brain to understand that teamwork? Cause all I'm thinking is like, oh my gosh, I need all of those connections to like stay fresh, stay young, stay fresh, stay young.
Well, one of the things that I tell people all the time is you need to act more like neurons, right? The reality is that when there's communication breakdown between couples, that's when divorce happens or separations happen. When countries have communication breakdowns, that's where war happens, right? When bands no longer communicate well, that's when the Beatles break up or whoever breaks up, right? So, so yeah, recognizing how the brain works, I think, is incredibly important because again, we are not our brains, but it is the most powerful tool that we have at our disposal. It is the number one technology that we have on this planet is the brain.
Yeah.
So we need to learn how to use it.
Yeah. And then everyone's like, how can I outsource this amazing tool into like ChatGPT? And it's like, well, your brain.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So I talk to educators sometimes as well, and one of the things that I think what this is going to do, will be the next separator. So, I want to say this too because this is very important for business owners that are listening.
Yeah.
So the best companies are more productive than the slowest companies by 5 times. So if you're not putting yourself through the paces to try to close the gap between you and the leader in your market, they're 5 times better than you. That's number one. So the gap will continue to increase. But when you look at like the AI, like these AIs that can kind of think for us, think in quotations, what's going to happen is the people who are going to be able to use that the best are the ones who have the wherewithal to ask it the best questions. Right. Yeah. So not just asking any type of question, it's going to be the best questions, which means they have to know well enough to work with the AI and not have the AI kind of work, them work for the AIs, right? And so that's going to be the separator between those who succeed next and everybody else, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like the difference between asking it to tell you a nighttime story and then also asking you to tell you a nighttime story read by a pirate who understands that they're trying to get, really getting aware details of what you needed to know. Yes, exactly. Like I haven't used it yet because I actually really love to write and I really know who I'm writing to. And it's actually slower for me to edit anyone else's writing of the same thing. I'm like, I just need to start from the beginning. But my husband used it and he's like, here, make me a 2-sentence description based on this outline. Boom. And so like what he got back was like amazing and very useful and needed very few edits. When he said, make me a 2-paragraph description of this outline, there were some edits there because he was like, I wouldn't use that word, I would use this one. But then when you say, make me a blog post, it got, if you can figure out, but you have to actually have the cognitive ability to understand what you want, why you want it, what's the best thing that's going to happen. Otherwise it's just going to be a different Google search.
100% correct. It's going to, so we'll see, we'll see where it's taking us, where it will take us, but history will show that it's probably not going to help us as much as we think it is. Maybe here and now it's going to be fine, but like the next generation will probably hurt us. It'll probably hurt us more than
that's what I worry about though. Right. Because we already know like what screens do to our eyesight and all and to our ability to sleep and all of these things. Right. So then it's like, if we're not using, and like, I'm okay with not memorizing but people's phone numbers. There's other things I can maybe memorize instead. But like, I do actually worry people will use their brains less. And I'm actually like, it just makes me a little like sad because it is such a powerful tool, as you know. And like, I think where people lose their way is when they feel like they don't have purpose, and they don't feel like they have purpose because everything is doing everything for them. I don't know. Is that a brain thing?
Yeah, it is. You're right. I want to amend what I said and say that, it'll take us down this dark path, but only if we don't train our brains alongside it. Because, so if we do nothing and go down the same path, we're going to have some problems. But if everybody does what me and Philippe say, then we'll be fine. But, it's going to take, but it takes effort. And that's the thing that there's no pill for this. I know everybody wants to take some magic pill that's gonna,
I didn't even ask what's a supplement we can all take for our brain. I didn't ask because there's Philippe, we got one for sale on the website.
It almost seems like we should get in that game, but that game is such a is not genuine, because it's not going to give you the overall performance that you want, which is just, more fitness, brain fitness. It's just going to get you to where maybe you have tricked yourself into thinking more so than likely that you've done something great.
Yeah.
Right. The placebo effect is real. I think of, from an analogy standpoint, getting better sleep. It'll probably do what those pills are trying to do. If you thought about, for people who live in like the Northeast and some places where it snows and they put brine all over the ground and it throws up on your car, then like the next day you think, I need to power wash my car so this stuff doesn't ruin my car. That's why you need to sleep, so that your brain can have those toxins pushed out, right?
Yeah.
And so if we could see these more harsher images, maybe we need to do like a this is your brain on not sleep type of commercials.
Yes. Hey, as a child of the 80s, it really worked.
Yeah.
I did not do drugs. I only drank.
You only drink. That's funny.
Have you ever noticed that? Like, if you look at a kid from the 80s who saw all those commercials with a and
with scarred.
Yeah, you're scarred. I know. So every 80 person from the 80s I know that knows that, they're like, I don't do drugs, but I drink. They all like they didn't do the same thing for drinking. So.
I don't know. They definitely didn't run the same ads for drinking.
Yeah, they did not.
And it was just eggs. It was just eggs frying on a pan for the.
Yeah,
this is your
that's
brain.
All it was. Yes, that's it. That's all it was. It's not complicated. It's probably a different visual than we all think our brain is actually doing. But yes, don't do drugs, guys. Some of them are really good. Some of them are great. And I'm really excited to see what they're doing with the vets. But before I let you guys go, I just want to make sure that we highlight, you have an amazing podcast. It's called the Brain Profits Podcast, and people can nerd out on the brain with you guys every single week over on your podcast. Yes. Anywhere they listen to podcasts.
Yeah. And we bring on some phenomenal guests. Like we've had like psychic mediums, right? We've had you.
Oh, we've had me. Yeah. Yes. Wait, hold on. We have to go back to the psychic mediums. So.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, you guys study the brain. Like, is this possible?
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. You know how strong your brain could possibly be?
Yeah. And when we think about our senses, right? We think about sight, smell, touch, hearing, taste, but there's so much more to our ability to sense what is going on around us.
There's a psychic you guys should interview. She is, her name is Jen something. I'll find it for you. She's James Wedmore's podcast. She's his girlfriend, and she talked and she broke down like the different psychic abilities, because you can be psychic with smells. Like you can smell something and then it's actually like, the smell's not there. Like you just like your sense picks it up, and then it's like that alerts you to a psychic ability that you have, or a hearing thing, and you can hear something before people say it. Or there's the thought one. And then there's another one. It's really fascinating. And I was like, oh, because sometimes I hear things before they're said. And I was like, I just thought I was going crazy, but now I just think I'm psychic.
I'm reading a book right now called Mental Distal Influence.
Oh,
your ability to connect with people, that are nowhere near you.
That is crazy. That's like a twin thing.
That's like a twin thing.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna find out all the places you can work with them, and also their beit action items. All right, guys. So I know we said the top, but just in case people are like skipping through, where can people find you, follow you, work with you, get connected with you? Go ahead, Douglas.
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Douglas Mapp, 1S, 2Ps on LinkedIn. And you can find me on the Twitter streets, which I don't say too much on there other than maybe some sports things. And then from time to time, I say some interesting things. But that's at DMAP, DMAPP2 on Twitter. And of course, you can go visit the website at thinkupexcellence.com. And you can hit me my email address at dmapp@thinkuptn.com.
Very cool. And Dr. Philippe, where can people find you, follow you, work with you?
Yeah, so people can go to my website, InleBrainFitInstitute.com. So INLE, BrainFitInstitute.com. They can find me on Instagram, Philippe.md. They can find me on TikTok. I've even started tweeting. I've made it this thing I need to tweet something every day. So yeah, they can find me on all the social media platforms.
And also the TikTok. Well, for Nuri the Neuron or
Oh, I can't wait to see you breakdancing.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be breakdancing.
No, I'm one of those. I'm like, I refuse. I will get my message out without pointing and dancing. Okay. So, bold, executable, intrinsic, targeted steps people can take to be it till they see it. What do you have for us?
Philippe, you go first.
Yeah, listen, something I've started doing recently. I take freezing cold showers.
Oh, Brad's been doing this. I hear a yelp through the house every morning.
But they are amazing. And when we think about the brain, right? So the brain is like 2% of your body weight. Right? It only weighs about 3 pounds, and yet it consumes about 20% of your energy. Much more if you're a child, much more if you're, sort of actively doing something. And so when you are taking a cold shower, the blood is going from your periphery to your core, right? It's reducing inflammation throughout everywhere, but all that blood is going to your core, then gets pushed up to your brain, feeds your brain everything that it wants. And you just feel cognitively alert. You feel a lot more awake. And it's been just awesome.
Yeah. I've been making excuses to not do this, but as you were saying this, I was like, oh, I can use the guest bathroom's shower to do this cold shower in the morning, so I'm not waking up everyone. So thank you for that. I love that. That's wonderful. And also it prepares you for sleep that night, everyone, just so you know, like it's actually part of the morning routine that prepares you for nighttime that helps you sleep. At least that's what I learned when I was doing a whole sleep thing. Douglas, do you have a beit action item for us?
Yeah. So understand your cognitive abilities. Like I would say, go find a cognitive assessment, learn about your cognitive strengths and weaknesses, then create a cognitive or a mental regimen to put yourself through in order to level up. And if you ever need help with that, you can come visit us find us on the social media streets, and we can help you figure that out.
Wonderful. All right. You too. This is so fun. I really love nerding out on the things that can actually help us sometimes get out of our own way, literally, and really do more in this life because we have so much to give. And so the more we can actually understand our brain and really propel it forward so that it can take us to the next levels is really appreciated. So thank you both so much, y'all. How are we going to use these tips in your life? Tag us, the Be It Pod. Make sure you tag the guys here from the Brain Profits and let them know how this affected you, what made you think. And then until next time, be it till you see it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Kroll.
It is produced and edited by the epic team at Duoyon.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Chofa.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals and Samena Velasquez for our transcriptions.
Also to Angelina Harricum for adding all the content to our website. And finally to Meredith Kroll for keeping us all on point and on time.
Hello. Were you here for the 10X?
Yeah, I was here for the 10X for the conference.
Oh my God. I was at a dinner with a bunch of 10X people.
Right.
that went till fucking midnight. And I was like, this is not how I do life, guys. I am not a 10X person.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Like I looked at the clock and I was like, are you kidding? It's midnight. We have to go. Everyone, we're going. Michael, you were on his podcast, I think.
Yeah, I was trying to meet up with him last week.
Yeah. So we were at dinner with him and then And then he's moving here.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Next
nice.
week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And he said I'm not even don't tell him. He'll probably see on the news. He said he's moving here because he wants to get out of the cold of Denver. It just snowed. Like I literally was just out in the snow.
Last week when I was there, I'm
It
sitting
snowed.
here. It snowed.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this hitting me in the face? Because it hasn't snowed in New York. Yeah.
Right. Well, and then try to explain that to someone who's like, well, see, it's so cold. It's not global warming. And I just can't with you. That's this moment. I can't with you.
mean,
I had a meeting yesterday and somebody was like, when you used to be a doctor. And I was like, whoa.
used to be a
I
doctor.
spent a whole lot of money. I'm a doctor forever.
Any questions?
Nope, no questions.
No. Do I need to look straight into the camera?
Yeah, it will go. They'll do a YouTube. So you can. Yeah. Yeah,
not
that would be good.
not in a weird way.
That's perfect.